بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وعلى من تبع هداهم إلى يوم الدين. Indeed, all praise is due to Allah. We praise Him, seek His aid and ask His forgiveness. We seek refuge in Allah from the evils of ourselves and from the evils of our actions. Whomsoever Allah guides, none can misguide. And whomsoever Allah misguides, none can guide. I bear witness that there is none worthy of worship except for Allah alone, having no partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad is a slave and His messenger. To proceed, by the best of talks, beyond any doubt, is the Quran, the book of Allah, and the best of guidance is the guidance of His messenger Muhammad. May peace and blessings be upon him. And that is the most evil of all matters are the ones innovated. For every newly innovated matter in Islam is an innovation. And every innovation in Islam is a misguidance, and every misguidance will lead to the hellfire. First of all, before I start the topic, which is the Hajj, I would like to know how many people are doing Hajj this year. Put your finger up, please. That's a late. Okay. Response. 1, 2, 3. This one? 1, 2, 3. That's it? Right. Who's planning, inshallah, to go next year? 1, 2, 3. That's it. So the rest are maybe. Who have done Hajj before? Put your finger up, please. Done Hajj before? Who have never done Hajj and not planning to make Hajj for the time being? Put your finger up, please. Good, right. Okay, so I'd like to, the brothers, as we have talked to you for the last 8 years, get as close as possible to each other. The last 8 years, you know. We've been trying to make sure that there's no gaps. Right, those boys, mashallah, next to the table. That's what you want. Next to the table. Okay. The importance of this Hajj is that the Hajj, as everybody knows, as soon as he enters Islam and as he knows that he's a Muslim, it's the 5th pillar. And it's the 5th pillar that means it's a must upon every person who became an adult, as we're going to discuss it inshallah. So this Hajj, it is important for me when I have those things that makes it compulsory upon me to make the Hajj, which is my age, my financial situation and my circumstances and extra circumstances for the women. When I have all of that and it becomes compulsory upon me, it is compulsory upon me as well to learn the knowledge in order to perform the Hajj which Allah wants from me. Not any Hajj, it has to be the Hajj that Allah wants from me. Just exactly the way that you have learned your prayer, that some of you maybe took the prayer from their father or their mother. If they are learned people, alhamdulillah. But if it's just a habit or a customs or rituals, most of the people would find out later on that the prayer is not the prayer of the Prophet of Allah. Same thing with the Hajj. They'll find out later on, and it's going to be too late. It's going to be very expensive for you to repeat the Hajj. Okay, some of the people who have done Hajj, he said, I wish I have learned it before I've done it, because I don't have the opportunity to do it again. He would have skipped a lot of sunnahs. He could have done a lot of mistakes. And because of that, if you haven't really made an effort to learn it, you're going to be sinning. Because you need to learn it. Just like when you become a rich, you need to learn the ahkam az-zakat. Just like you have as well when you become a mujahid, you become a jihad and everything, you need to learn the fiqh of jihad. Same thing when you become an adult, you need to learn the ahkam of fasting and ahkam of salah. So the same thing comes with the Hajj. I need to perform the Hajj that the Prophet ﷺ, he said to the companions, خُذُوا عَنِّي مَنَاسِكَكُمْ. Take from me the rituals of the Hajj. خُذُوا عَنِّي. Not anybody else, have be from the profitable. And on the market, you'll find, I'm saying the market, whether the purchasing market or even the market on the internet, you'll find lots of Hajj booklets, treaties, Hajj seminars, Hajj lectures. And the problem is, there are things which are mixed up there. Just like we have in the seerahs, we have discussed lots of books flying around with unauthentic events and the hadith. Same thing with the Hajj. We find people who are making a Hajj, definitely if you perform it according to what they say, you end up with no Hajj. And I'll give you an example for those who had given it a green light to make his, number 1, that is Tawaf al-Ifad. Number 2, his throwing of the Jamarat. For those who do not know about it, inshallah you'll learn later on. Plus number 3, shaving the head. Plus number 4, that is Sa'i al-Ifad. Plus number 5, slaughtering the animal. All of that to be done before the day of Hajj had started, that is the 10th of Muharram, the 10th of Dhul Hijjah, that is the day of Eid, everything's been finished, he's done everything, and he says, I had done Hajj, alhamdulillah, even before the day of Hajj had started. That Hajj is invalid. That Hajj is not going to be accepted. Now, do you think that people would do such a thing? Yes. There are people who would shoot from Muzdalifah at 12 o'clock midnight and go ahead all the way to make the Jamarat, throw the Jamarat well before the sunrise, do the shave on the head, may go to Mecca even before the sunrise, before the people are doing their Eid, and they are doing their Tawaf al-Ifada, Sa'i al-Ifada. Already he had deputized for his slaughtering of the animal, and he thinks he finished the Hajj before the day of the Hajj. And that's not Hajj. So I need to make sure that I do the Hajj according to what the Prophet ﷺ told me. I have decided, according to what I have as an experienced person regarding this issue for teaching the people, that the Hajj can be done in 2 seminars. And those 2 seminars, an hour and a half each. So an hour and a half tonight, an hour and a half inshallah Wednesday. So for those who are coming for Sirah, we apologize. We have made an announcement 2 weeks ago, I think, that we're going to do Hajj for today. So I apologize for those who are coming from, like for example, some brothers are coming from, maybe you're coming for Sirah, isn't it? Yes, we came for Sirah from, what's the place here? Bedford, from Bedford. So I apologize for them. It's going to be Hajj. Inshallah, you're not going to be wasting your time. Inshallah. Right, let's start with it. First of all, that's the overview plan. We're going to be talking about introduction, and that's very fast. Excellence of the Hajj. And what is the Hajj Mabrur? That's what I'm after. I'm going to talk about important issues in Hajj, like when Hajj was made obligatory, Hajj conditions, Hajj for the women, children, and the slave. Well, the slave is not important because we don't have slaves. But preparation for Hajj, I need to know what to take, and Hajj and Umrah related definitions. Also, I need to talk about the time of the Hajj, where this takes place, types of the Hajj. Then after that, we will be talking about the geographical places where the Hajj will take place, Mawaqit, those are the stations. And then we'll talk about Haram of Mecca, what is it, Haram? We'll talk about the journey, the day of arrival, the day of departure. Also, we're going to be talking about the Umrah, which is part of your Hajj package, will be Umrah, step by step, Ihram and Tawaf and Sa'i and Halq, which is shaving. Then we're going to talk about staying in Mecca in between, that is Umrah and the Hajj. Then you come to the Hajj. Step by step, the Ihram, the Mina, Arafah, Muzdalifah. Don't worry about that. That will be inshallah. This is an overview plan just to talk to you what is going to be coming ahead inshallah. Right, the last thing which is going to be Mecca, last day, and that is Tawaf al-Wada', farewell Tawaf. Now, after that, we're going to talk about recaps, which is a recap with the pillars and the obligations. And then we could include, if we have time, I'm not really promising here, visiting the Medina. It's not part of the Hajj, but you gotta go to visit the Medina, the Prophet ﷺ. I mean, getting a ticket all the way to Saudi Arabia without visiting the Medina, I would say that's a loss, but it is not part of the Hajj. Right, excellence of the Hajj. Now, there are plenty of ahadith. I have, not gonna go through all of them, but I'll just tell you 2. One, which is the second one in the book. It says there, "Man hajja falam yarfuth walam yafsuq, raja'a kayawmi waladathu ummuh." That is, whoever perform Hajj and does not commit any obscenity nor commit any evil will return as sinless as a newborn child. That's how it's important is the Hajj, and how the immaculate reward you're going to get. Clean. Now, plenty of ahadith. You're welcome to take a copy of that with your flash memory after the talk, inshallah. Now, I have gathered so many ahadith regarding the virtues and the excellencies of the Hajj, but I'm concerned about the last one. This is the last one I have put here, which is this one. It's in Arabic, not in English, but I'll translate it. That's a mighty hadith that talks about the rewards of the Hajj step by step. What do you get? There's 2 men came to the Prophet of Allah while the Messenger of Allah, he was in Masjid al-Khif. Masjid al-Khif in Mina. One of them is Thaqafi, one of them is Ansari. And the Ansari started this question, the Thaqafi wanted to step in. So Prophet of Allah said, Thaqafi, wait, the Ansari started. The Ansari, you know what the Ansaris, they give preference all the time over themselves, even they are in need. The Messenger of Allah could be a stranger. I don't mind, give him the vision, even though that he started. So the Prophet ﷺ asked the Thaqafi, okay, shall I inform you what you come to ask, or are you going to ask me? Then the Messenger of Allah will be better for me if you tell me, what did I come to ask for? What did I come? Why did I ask? Why am I asking you for? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, you came to ask me about your salah, you came to ask me about some of the fasting, and you came to ask me about another issue, which is not here in this hadith. I didn't really mention it because it has to do with the Hajj. He said, yes, by the one who said you the truth, I came to ask about these things. Then he told him the answer. If you want me to talk about that later on, but I don't have time for this, I'm going to come to the second question of the Ansari. Ansari, do you want me to tell you what you came to ask for, or shall you ask me? It's a messenger of Allah, it would be better for me if you tell me what I came to ask you. So he said to him, now this is the hadith here in front of me, that is, messenger of Allah, you tell me what I came to ask you. So he said to him, you came to ask me what is for you when you come out of your house heading towards the Bayt al-Haram, that is Mecca. And what is for you when you pray the 2 rak'ah after you make the Tawaf? And what is for you, that is the reward, when you make the Sa'i, and he made it called it Tawaf, between Safa and Marwa. Tawaf. And this is the important word, is Tawaf, between Safa and Marwa. And what is for you when you stand on Arafah? And what is it for you for rewards when you throw the Jamarat, the stones? And what is for you when you slaughter? And what is it in it for you when you shave your head? And what is in it for you as well when you make your Tawaf of Al-Wada', okay, which is the last one. He said, by the one who sent you the truth, exactly that is what I came to ask you. So he said to him, well, when you come out of your house, heading towards the Masjid al-Haram, every single step that you she-camel, your mount, makes towards it, whether it comes up or puts it down, except that Allah will give you a hasana and remove from you a sin. So now a person would say, I'm not going to Hajj by camel, I'm going by a plane or a train or a car. So I'm not going to tell you that every single rotation of a wheel or every single jet sort of injection in the air, and you're going to get a lot of reward. So we're talking about a she-camel. So that's number one. Number two, it doesn't mean that, forget about planes and trains and cars. I'm going to go on camels because I'm going to get this reward. No. You're going to get this reward regardless. And don't you ever think that if you had an option of going to Hajj by plane or by camel, you say the camel is more rewardable when I could afford the plane, you're mistaken. You're totally mistaken. The companions, when they went to the Prophet of Allah, they went with the Prophet of Allah. Some of them on foot. Some of them on a mount. It could be a horse, it could be she-camel. Most of the camels, Prophet of Allah went on a horse, on a she-camel. Al-Qaswa is a she-camel. Some of them went on a mule. So it doesn't mean that, the Prophet of Allah would have just said, it's better for me to walk. No. It's better for me to go to Hajj while I'm healthy and sound and could fulfill my Hajj rituals, rather than to go by walking, spend about 2-3 months until I arrive there, and then I'm exhausted for another 2-3 months, and the Hajj is gone. I haven't done my Hajj yet. Why? Because I've chosen a way, which is, I call it the Sufi way. That's what the Sufi do. It's not right. That's what they claim to do. They walk. It's not right. So if you could afford a plane, no problem. And don't you ever think that some people say, I don't think I'm going to be rewarded for my Hajj. I say, why, brother? So my Hajj was 5 stars. It doesn't matter. Brother, if you could afford 5 stars, it's up to you. No extravagance. So some people can afford, for example, in Mina to have, mashallah, food and air conditioning. Some people, they can't afford that. It's no problem. Each one will get his own reward. The most important thing is to make the Hajj rituals. It is not how much sun I could put on my head and melt myself and I get a reward. That's not true. It's not how much I could really walk with barefoot and get so many wounds in my feet and I'll get the reward. It's not right. It is not right approach. It's actually what you do towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the ibadat according to what we learn from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he said to him also, and it's for your rak'ah, when you make the tawaf, then you make the 2 rak'ah, it's tawaf al-qudum. Then you make 2 rak'ah, it's like you have freed a slave from the son of Ismail. Son of Ismail, that means a slave from the Muslims. You have freed a mu'min slave. As for your tawaf between Safa and Marwa, we call it Sa'i, between Safa and Marwa, then it is like freeing 70 slaves. Now people say, how can I get the reward of freeing a slave when there is no slave? This is the way. This is the way. The lots of freeing of the slave just by not even going to Hajj, just in the morning and in the evening, saying La ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lah, lahu al-mulk wa lahu al-hamd, yuhyi wa yumit wa huwa ala kulli shay'in qadir, 10 times, without talking to anybody, before he talks to anybody, and before he bends his knee, just like when he was making the tashahhud, it's like he had freed 10 slaves, every morning and every night. Then he said to him, as for your standing in Arafah and making the dua, for verily Allah descends down to the nearest heaven, a descendance which is suitable to His Majesty. Remember, His descendants, it is not like our descendants. Remember that. So we affirm the descendants of Allah. He descends down, but our descendants is different. Our descendants, you need something like a machine or like a vehicle to go down, like a lift. And also when you leave the place, you're going to leave a space. A space which is going to fill up with air. It's different from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't measure Allah with your own limited minds. Okay? He descends the way which is suitable to His Majesty. And He would come down and boast about His slaves before His angels. Why is this boasting? Because Allah is reminding the angels, that is every year, every day of Arafah. The moment when Allah created Adam, what did the angels say? Lord, you're creating a creature. Why creating a creature that would shed blood, spread corruption? Where we, angels, sinless, we obey you. He said, I know what you don't know. This is why. These are the descendants, the offsprings of Adam. The one whom you have said is going to spread what? Corruption and spill blood. Look, they're coming from all over the distance, coming from far and near. Why? Seeking my mercy. With uncombed hair, with faces covered with dust, seeking my mercy. Behold, I've forgiven them all. So, he says, verily, if it was your sins, as many as the particles of the sand, and the particles are so many, millions, billions, trillions, or like the drops of the rain, God knows, or like the froth of the sea, I would have forgiven it for you. So come, my ibad, my slaves, you have been forgiven. And for those, you have as well interceded for. You've been forgiven as well. As for you throwing the stones, Jamarat, for every stone that you throw, one of your grievous major sins will be forgiven. How about that? Every stone that you throw, a major sin will be removed. As for your slaughtering, that is your heading, then it is going to be saved for you with your Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. As for your shaving of your head, for every single hair that you shave, there will be a hasan, and a sin will be removed. Somebody will ask me, I'm bald, what am I going to get? Got no hair. Don't worry, brother. Bald or not bald, you're going to get the same thing as a person who's got mighty hair. Don't worry about that. And the companion asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, Messenger of Allah, the way he thinks now. Messenger of Allah, what about my sins? Where is not as many as my hair? So he wants to, not to waste a single hair. He said, if my hair was much more than my sins. Prophet said, see, look, Prophet he said, well, a solution for that, for the extra hair that you've got, which is more than the sins that are being forgiven, it will be given for you hasanat. So you have no sins to be removed, Allah will give you hasanat. No loss with the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Always profitable business. So he said, and then, as for your farewell tawaf, for well, verily you will make tawaf and you will have no sins. An angel will come and you put his hands of the angel, between his shoulders, even though you don't feel it. He will say to you, go ahead and do for what is coming in the future. As for the ones in the past, it's being cleared, your meter's being resetted. MashaAllah. So that's the angel who's what? Writing your deeds, the records. Your a reset now. All what is being done is forgiven. Start now from the future. And that's why I said Hajj is a mighty pillar that you get a reward, a lot of reward for it. So, and for those people who do the Hajj, they know to get the Hajj Mabrur is not easy, because you have to control your temper and you have to get a lot of patience. A lot of patience. No matter how much I say to you, and I'm saying that to myself, a lot of patience. Especially when you have lots of ignorant plus rude. ignorance and rude, a lethal weapon. You have to cope with it with patience. Okay. A goal of the Hajj Mabrur. Hajj Mabrur is a Hajj which is accepted. A Hajj that is, number one, performed with the intention of seeking Allah's pleasure. You're not going there to get the title Hajji. No. You're going there to get the forgiveness. Hajj performed in accordance with the Sunnah of the Prophet of Allah. Not something that you have learnt from a mother or a father who have never learnt it themselves, or from people who have no knowledge. You have to perform in accordance with the Sunnah of the Prophet of Allah. A Hajj conducted with full obedience to Allah. That means you are obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and even though it would go against yours, some of the, the benefits of yours, you have to do sacrifice here. And also a Hajj which is not followed by disobedience. Some people, as soon as they make the Hajj, straight away they make the fahisha. That's not a Hajj Mabrur. And also a Hajj which includes righteous deeds, such as providing food, charity, and spreading good words, and all of that, which is you find it in the hadith of Silsila Sahiha of Shaykh al-Albani 1264. Important issues in Hajj. As we said, Hajj is fifth pillar. Hajj and Umrah are obligatory only once in your life. So if you do the Hajj, which includes the Umrah, then you've done your obligations, which we call it Hajj Tamattu or Qiran, but the Tamattu is better. What is Qiran and Tamattu? We will see inshallah in a minute. Now, Hajj was made obligatory on the year 10th after Hijrah. And I'm saying this is important because when Hajj was made obligatory on the 10th year of it, because it is a controversial issue, when was it obligated? But if it was obligated, according to some of the scholars who would say it's much earlier than that, and the Prophet of Allah performed Hajj 2 or 3 years after. But it is on the 10th, Prophet of Allah, he made his Hajj where? On the 10th. So straight away, that means Hajj becomes compulsory immediately once the following conditions are met, and one will be sinned if he delayed it. So you can't delay Hajj if you had these following conditions. Number one, Muslim, all of you Muslims, mashallah. Number two, an adult, so the children is not compulsory. You could make a Hajj, they get the reward, even the parents will get the reward, but it is not going to be sufficing for their obligatory Hajj. Third one, sane. Insane, no Hajj on him. If you want to take the insane with you, you will be rewarded. The insane, there will be no accountable deeds for him. Number four, he's free. So if he's slave, if he's done Hajj, he will get a reward, but when he gets freedom, then he has to perform a Hajj again. Number five, capable. Capable includes health, the safety of the routes, the transport, the food, no legitimate excuse for not going, like he had imprisonment or is scared of tyrant leaders. Number six, a husband or a mahram in the case of a woman. So the woman, she has to have a mahram. The mahram has to fulfill the following conditions: male, adult, and safe. That's the mahram. What is a mahram? Person that the woman can never ever marry. So he is a mahram. Person the woman cannot ever, never ever marry. Like a father, like an uncle. So mahram has to be male, adult, and sane. Important issues in Hajj. It is highly recommended for a woman who fulfilled her Hajj condition to seek her wali's permission to do her obligatory Hajj. So, it is not compulsory, it is recommended. He sinned if he does not allow her to do so. So if your wife, she had the money from her own money, and she had a mahram, not yourself, you had a father or a brother, you were willing to go with her, you're not allowed to prevent her. But if you have allowed, if you have said to her, don't go, you'll be sinned. And also we tell the woman, it is recommended not to really go and disobey your husband. A woman must seek her husband permission, of course, to perform a voluntary Hajj. He has the right to say to her, no, and he will not be sinned. A woman making Hajj without a mahram, she will be sinned, but her Hajj will be valid. I mean, she will be dropping that pillar of Islam from her, but she will be sinned. And what's the point of a woman going all the way to Hajj in order to get her sins removed? She comes back with more sins. What's the point? A woman on her menses or postnatal does everything that the pilgrim do except for Tawaf, Sa'i, and prayer. Those three things. And I said Sa'i here. And as a controversial, because the scholars, they say some of them that the Sa'i is no problem. The Sa'i, Prophet of Allah, Allah the Almighty, and the Prophet of Allah, they call it Tawaf. Because it is Tawaf, so we require for Tawaf and Sa'i and the prayer, we require the menses not to be there, or the postmaker. Also, we talk about the non-adult, and slave Hajj is considered there, but it will not suffice them. Once the non-adult becomes an adult, or the slave become free, they have to make another Hajj. The Hajj of a child is treated as an adult. For those people who are taking children, we tell them and advise them very strongly, don't take children. Can I ask the brother to open the door? Because it's really getting hot with this. Who's getting hot? Put your finger up. I think the Somalis had affected everybody. MashaAllah. Everybody's warm here. I'm feeling very hot. Everybody's cold. Okay. The Hajj of a child is treated as an adult Hajj in terms of fulfilling the obligations and avoiding the prohibitions. But I say to the brothers, please, brother, don't bring children with you. If you have an opportunity to put the children with their, for example, grandmother, whatever, take your wife and leave the children. Because you're going to, number one, put a harassment and a hassle on the children. Number two, put a harassment and a hassle as well on you. Number three, harassment and a hassle on the people. Because the children, they can't really, feel free. They will be sort of restricted. They're scared of the children of yours. So don't bring them. So if you bring them, treat them as an adult in terms of fulfilling obligation and avoiding prohibition. But there will be neither sin, no penalty incurred if the child left an obligation or committed a prohibition. So if the child is old enough, he is to be corrected and taught. So if he's old enough, that means, for example, 6, 7 years old, he's not an adult, but he knows if you tell him that this is wrong, this is right, then you tell him to what is right, what is wrong. If the child is old enough to distinguish, he should be taught to make the Hajj rituals himself. Otherwise, his guardians will do it on his behalf. So if the child is 6 or 7, how old are you? 11. Not an adult. So at 11, he understands, mashallah, he comes to the class. So we'll teach him how to throw the jamarat. He'll come throw the jamarat with me. He will, for example, teach him how to make the tawaf. I don't have to put him in a pram or a trolley, one of these wheelchairs to go and make tawaf. He will make tawaf. So he understands. So I don't have to throw the jamarat with him. He will throw the jamarat. If a person has just enough money to do either his obligatory Hajj or the marriage, then the prioritization goes to his persisting needs. If he needs to get married, otherwise he'll fornicate, then marriage will come first. If, mashallah, no problem, then he would start with the Hajj. Okay, preparation for the Hajj now. Sincerity and pay your debts. Write and update your will. The will, which is supposed to be done already. Money used for Hajj should be from halal sources. So don't make them from haram. And I'm saying, from halal sources, that doesn't mean, oh, I could have haram, but for the Hajj to be halal. But make sure that your sources for Hajj is halal. If you have done it from haram, I'm not saying your Hajj is invalid. Try to accompany a knowledgeable person. Knowledgeable people, they will help you. Learn about Hajj and Umrah as much as possible. Attend lectures, read. Learn, memorize some of the du'as from the Quran and the Sunnah. Learn how to pray Salat al-Janazah. You're going to feel a lot of people will die at that time. Because you imagine, you've got 5 or 4 millions in one spot. That's a whole country. So imagine, all the masajid in the whole country is in one masjid. So you got lots of 5 people, 4 people every single prayer. So you learn to pray Salat al-Janazah. Also learn the rulings of Salat al-Safar, because you need to know that Safar is 2 rak'ah and is 4. Learn the etiquette of visiting the grave, and medical checkup would be better as well in case. Debts. Being debt-free is not a precondition or prerequisite for performing the Hajj. But we say that debts is a very serious matter, and you should really look into it carefully. So, pay all your debts before going to Hajj, if possible. If you are not able to make arrangement, if you're not able to, then make an arrangement to settle your debt in your absence or in the event of your death. Also ensure that family members are aware of your outstanding debts. Write an Islamic will, as we said. Make sure that all your debts are recorded therein. If the debt is due, then you must settle it or take a permission. Then if it's the due debt before the Hajj, settle it. If you can't, take a permission from the person who's the creditor, otherwise you'll be sinned if you do Hajj, but your Hajj is valid. It is permissible to take a loan for Hajj, but it will be disliked. Why? If it's going to put you in financial difficulty, in carrying a sin for not settling it on time. But if you have taken a loan and you know for sure that your money is coming later on, inshallah, there's no problem. What to take? Documents, packing things, keep in mind to keep as light as possible. Don't make it like a hijrah. You take half of your furniture. No, everything's available. Make as light as possible. Jazakallahu khair. Very good. That one as well. Jazakallahu khair. That's good. Choose a compact and light items. Do not take valuable things. You run the risk of losing them. And most items are available in Saudi Arabia. Essentials, ihram towels. I would prefer if you buy them from here. Okay? Because you need to put them, especially if you're going to be making ihram on the plane, so you need them. 2 sets of towels, which is for men. As for women, there is no specific clothes. And medication, take it there because you don't want to go to the doctor and explain to him what's your problem. Now money, which is Saudi Arabian, exchange rate would be better in Saudi Arabia. Travel belt, okay, anti-theft belt with metal like this. So there's one which is got a wire running into it because there are thieves, even in Saudi Arabia. There are thieves who will be making tawaf with you as well. But they're not making Hajj, but they're making tawaf with you. Clothing, comfortable and modest clothes like the Sherwal Qamis of Pakistani or the thobe of the Saudi Arabians are ideal for the recommended for the men. And for women, normal clothes, avoid the nylon because very uncomfortable and hot in the weather. Warm jackets if you're going in the winter. Now you're going to be going in October. It's not winter. Winter starts on, say, December. If you're going this year and the following years, you don't need jackets. That's for me, but some of the brothers even put jackets now, and I feel like, how can they put the jacket really hot? So they're putting a real jacket there. I can't. So if you really think that this weather now needs a jacket, definitely you need double jackets sometimes. Socks. Now the socks are not allowed when you're making your state of Ihram, but they are useful when you're making voluntary tawaf. Because when you make tawaf with a sock on, it's a lot better, more comfortable than with barefoot. But remember that this is you're not in state of Ihram. As for the women, they have to put something to cover their feet all the time. Slippers, sandals, comfortable shoes like this, no problem. So these ones, there's no problem with. Right. For sleeping, this is what you need in Muzdalifah, basically. I would urge you to buy if you pillow, because you're going to have a pillow. I would urge you. It's an inflatable one. Just put it there in your pocket. Buy from somebody. You'll need it. Make sure that otherwise you're going to be sleeping on the foot of somebody else. If you are traveling with a good company, those company would provide you like a carpet in Muzdalifah, because this is the very hardest night. If the company does not provide you with that, then you could take it like a rucksack on your back to carry it. It's really easy, just like blanket. And it's a night, which is a difficult night. I call it not the 5-star hotel, million-star hotel, because all the stars are on top of you. When you sleep, there's nothing, no roof. So all the stars are going to be seen from. So that's why I say to the brother, this is the most difficult night. The most difficult night. This is where your Hajj there. What to take? Okay, you could take these pins if you want. Some people that can't sleep with the noise, earplugs were helpful, eye covers as well. This is not bid'ah beads like a tasabih. This is like something to count your size. Some of the people, they make tawaf and they don't know, am I on the 4th or the 3rd? And they end up making about 10 rounds and still haven't made 7 rounds. So if you are in that, your mind can't really, because you can't be concentrated, lots of people shoving and pushing and you're not concentrating, then you could have this very good. You just 1, put 1, 2, 2. Okay, that would be helpful for you. And I find it very helpful. Some of the people, they couldn't count in their mind. Some of the people, they count with their hands. So it's one, good like this one. But suddenly somebody hits his hand, oh, what is it, 1 or 2 or 3, I can't remember. It happened. Now, Vaseline ban, because this Vaseline is to lubricate between your legs. You're going to get, skin sort of irritation a lot, especially with the heating. Nail clippers, small scissors, lots of little things there. You need them. If your hotel will provide them, that's no problem. A bag to carry your shoes, little bag, provided by maybe the company. Give you a bag, because it's good to have your shoes all the time. Don't leave them with shoe racks. Most of the time, you're not going to find them. Small book for authentic dua, very good. Small bag for pebbles. Mobile phones, smartphones would be good. Saudi Arabian mobiles, I just say here, the SIM card buy from Saudi Arabia would be better for you there. So you can communicate with your family there. And the mobile here these days, mashallah, can be used for everything. And everything, the mobile, everything except for being a wife. For everything. And I mean everything, like dua, like your phone, your clock, your alarm, your everything. The mobile, computer, laptop, you could do it, mashallah. Right, what to take? A lot of patience. You need that, especially towards the end. Tawaf al-wada'. Do not get angry. You will see a lot of irritation and misguided behavior. Try to change it with wisdom, nice words, if you can control yourself. Otherwise, go away, keep silent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the one to ask for help to give you the patience. Be positive, hope for the best, but be prepared for the worst, and have only one concern. What is that? Hajj, mabrur, accepted Hajj. Definitions. The definition, I'm going to pass that because I will explain it, so it's going to be taking time, so I'll leave that. Now the days of Hajj. Now the months of Hajj are Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah and Dhul Hijjah. But the days of Hajj are in the last month, which is in Dhul Hijjah. That is 8th and 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th and 13th. Those 11th and 12th and 13th, they call it the days of Tashriq. So the months of Hajj, Shawwal. So if the days of Hajj and Dhul Hijjah, so what has got to do with Shawwal and Dhul Qa'dah? The reason behind this, if you perform the Umrah in Shawwal, it could be part of your Hajj tamattu, so you don't have to make another Umrah. So if you've done it 2 months before the Hajj, within the month of Shawwal, that Umrah is part of your Hajj, so you don't have to do the Umrah again. That's what it means. But the Hajj itself, not the Umrah, has to be done on the 8th, 9th and 10th and 11th and 12th and 13th. Those are the days of the Hajj. The most important days of them is the 9th and the 10th. Those are the days which are very important. If you miss the 9th, there's no Hajj for you. If you miss the 10th, there's no Hajj for you. And of course, some of the wajibat, 11th and the 12th. You have to meet the throwing of the Jamaat. Right. Kinds of Hajj, Tamattu' and Qiran and Ifrat. What is Tamattu'? What is Qiran and Ifrat? Tamattu', you make Umrah, then Hajj during the months of Hajj. The pilgrim is called Mutamattu'. It requires sacrificial. The Qiran is exactly the same, but actually, when you finish the Umrah, you don't take off your clothes. You do it straight away with the Hajj. So you can combine Umrah and Hajj. And the person who stayed in the state of Ihram, it requires as well a sacrificial. Third one is Hajj, which is Hajj only during the months of Hajj. And the person does not require a Hajj. Now, we say that, yes, there are 3 types, but according to our Shaykh al-Albani, which I have my opinion, his opinion, that the only Hajj which is valid is the Hajj which is Tamattu'. Because the Prophet of Allah, at the end when he had revelation, he said, if I had myself know what is coming ahead, I would not do except for Tamattu'. Because he himself did Qiran, and he could not change his intention. For those who had done Hajj Ifrat, he compelled them. He said, you have to take off your clothes now and make just the Umrah, and then later on you make the Hajj. So he made them to make Tamattu'. As for him, it's Qiran, because he was bringing with him the sacrificial animal. He couldn't break off his Ihram. That's his wife. Now, the located Hajj places, Again, let me just go quickly here. Mawaqit. Mawaqit is the plural of miqat. It is the geographical boundary that a person intending Hajj or Umrah may not cross them without assuming the Hajj or the Umrah, or both. A Muslim intending Hajj or Umrah who crosses the miqat without Ihram must return to the miqat and make Ihram from there. If he or she does not return and make Ihram from the miqat, then he is sinned. Mawaqit. Prophet of Allah, he had said them in a hadith. Dhul Hulayfa, Al-Juhfa, Qarn al-Manazil, Yalamlam, and Dhatu Irq. And these other ones. Okay, sorry. So you got Dhul Hulayfa, which is the one for people coming from the Medina, or that side. And this is the farthest one, 255 miles away. Al-Juhfa, people coming from the Red Sea of Bilad al-Sham, coming from this as well. So this is Rabi'. Dhatu Irq is about 55 miles away, for people coming from Iraq or any people coming from that side. Qarn al-Manazil, from the people from Najd. And Yalamlam, from the bottom, which is from Yemen. Jeddah is not a miqat, it's inside. So if your place, if you are already living inside, or you came to a visit, you did not intend Hajj or Umrah, and you were inside this boundary here, then your miqat is your place. You don't have to reverse back. So if you are, for example, situated here, you don't have to go travel back to one of the mawaqit. Okay? If you are flying with a plane, and let's say you're flying with British Airways, like I've done my last Hajj, and I was going, for example, to Al-Riyadh. Al-Riyadh, because that's where they landed. They landed in Riyadh. And then after Riyadh, they went to Jeddah. So they're coming from, the Riyadh is almost here. It's almost here. That's the Riyadh. So the plane was going from this way. So where am I going to go? Because I'm going in between two miqats. I will go in parallel to which is the farthest. In parallel, so I was coming this way. I got one, which is Dhatu Irq, and one which is Qarn al-Manazil. So I will go to the farthest one of them. And I will calculate that because British Airways, they're not really, most of them, they're not Muslim, the pilots, they will not be helpful to you. So you could make an estimation, make sure that you make at least your ihram before arriving to that station. Haram of Mecca. Haram of Mecca is the sanctified area surrounding Mecca. It was delimited by Ibrahim alayhi salam under the guidance of Jibreel alayhi salam. After Fath of Mecca, the Prophet ﷺ sent Tamim ibn Asad al-Khuza'i to renew the boundaries of the Haram. Flags will be put at that mountain to indicate the limits of the Haram, and the area of the Haram is about 212 miles square miles, and perimeter, which is 79 miles. Now, the Haram, it means the plants not to be cut, except for the hashish, the idkhir, not the hashish, the hashish drugs. The scented grass, which is used in houses and graves. We call it hashish. Its game, which is the hunt, must not be frightened. There's a sin and no penalty. And here articles are lost in there, must not be picked up except to give it to the lost and found property or foundation. Not to bear arms for fighting in it, and this restriction also applies to the Medina. These are the Haram boundary, you could say, pillars. They're shown like this, beginning of Haram boundary. And this is the area, Haram of Mecca, map. So you could find here Masjid al-Haram, the Kaaba, and that's the city of Mecca. And this is now the boundary of the area of Mecca. Arafah, Mina, Muzdalifah. Sorry, those are the areas. No, Arafah is boundary, but Muzdalifah and Mina are the places for Hajj. Jeddah, this is Medina. Okay, let's just talk about now those limits of Haram of Mecca. You have the Ji'rana, Nakhla, Arafah, Adah Libn, and Hudaybiyah. Those are names of places, and Tan'een, they call it Masjid Aisha. Those are the 5 places indicating that this is the Haram. This is where you cannot, for example, pick up something which is a lost property unless you give it to the lost and found properties. As if you pick up lucky found here, you could keep it yourself, but not in Mecca. Also, you can't bear arms, you cannot cut from the trees, you cannot frighten the game, you cannot, as well, you cannot hunt. You could kill lice, you could kill flies, no problem, but hunt. Right, those are the 5 places. Now, Mawaqit, which is the Mawaqit that we intended to make Hajj or Umrah, they are further away. There they are. So you find these are the Haram of Mecca, but the Mawaqit is further away. Dhul Hulayfa, Dhatu Irq, Qarn al-Manazil, Yalamlam, and Al-Juhfa. Dua for the trouble, which everybody knows. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. 3 times, Subhanallah sakhkhara lana hadha, to the end. Now this is arrival to Jeddah, and you would have assumed Ihram already before on the plane, because you've been on, because Jeddah, as I said, inside the Mawaqit. It's not a miqat, it's inside. So if you have arrived in Jeddah and you did not put your clothes Ihram, you did not say the Talbiyah, you have actually passed the miqat, and you have to take after you take your passport, you have to take a car and go back to, you can't take the plane, to the car, back to the miqat, where you came from. Perform the salah on time and with the jama'ah. Jeddah will be the first test for your patience. Good opportunity, as I said here, to make friendship. Umrah, now the first thing, step by step. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulih. We're going to be starting now with the Umrah, step by step. And Umrah, in summary, it is Ihram. We will explain that. And inshallah, Tawaf, we'll explain that inshallah. And Sa'i, which we call it as well Tawaf between Safa and Marwa. We'll explain that inshallah. And the Halq, which is the shaving or the taqsir. So this is the summary of the Umrah. Now the Ihram for the Umrah. Now, if you remember the location that we have spoken about before, if you are coming from an outside, like Africa, Europe, Medina, on those areas, outside those areas here, then you assume Ihram once you reach the miqat. If you're coming from the Hulayfa, you're coming from there, you assume Ihram from there. If you're flying, whatever is parallel, and you Ihram just about 2-3 minutes before you arrive to that miqat. Same thing from here, Dhatu Irq, and this is Qarn al-Manazil, and this is Yalamlam, and this is Al-Juhfa. And as I said, this is Jeddah, which is inside. Let's just see them. B, if you are inside, then your miqat is from inside. You don't reverse back. So if you are inside, then your miqat is from your place, from your house. And if it's C, then you are inside, then you can only do Hajj Ifrad without Umrah. There is no Umrah for those who are inside. Okay, Ihram for Umrah, preparation, clip the moustache and nails, and this is just, I wouldn't say recommend it, but if you need to make sure that you don't do that afterwards, because you can't do that. Remove the pubic hair and afterwards, all of that is actually recommendation, or sometimes you could say permissibilities. Vaseline as well, because you're going to be walking. Take a shower for Ihram, this is a sunnah. So for the Ihram, there's a shower. And this is a sunnah, means recommended. Put perfume on body, don't put perfume on the izar, which is your towel. You could put perfume as much as you can, even on your head. Shower yourself with perfume, no problem. Put ihram garment, this is for the men only, and for the men only for the perfume. The women can't put perfume whatsoever. Pray the prescribed salah if it is time for it. I mean, if you come in dhuhr, pray the dhuhr, whatever time that you come in. And pray the 2 rak'ah if you making the ihram from Dhul Hulayfa. Dhul Hulayfa is a special place. If you are making ihram from there, you pray in a valley called Wadi al-Aqiq. There's a market there. And it was a blessed valley, as the Prophet ﷺ been told by Jibreel. Note, up to this point, all that you have done is preparation. Your intention was already made since you decided to make the Umrah or Hajj even a year before. But the intention is there. But to start your Ihram, you have to say the following words, which is equivalent to your Takbiratul Ihram in your Salah, which is لبيك اللهم بعمرة. Here I am, O Allah, intending Umrah. From this point, you are in a state of Ihram. So this is equivalent to saying Allahu Akbar in as-Salah. Right. Now, Ihram for Umrah also recommends you to add the following words straight after starting your Umrah. After the words that you have mentioned before, say Allahumma umratan la riya'a fiha wa la sum'a, and also Allahumma mahilli haythu habastan. What do they mean? Oh Allah, I intend Umrah without showing off. And the other one, oh Allah, I declare a state of no Ihram wherever you restrain me. Meaning that if you've fallen sick and ill, you can't continue. If you have broken a leg, you couldn't continue. If you've said these words already, what you do is just take off your clothes and go back. And there is no penalty, there is no compulsory compensation on you to do the Umrah again next year. But if you haven't said these words, then as soon as you take off your Ihram, then there's a penalty which is sacrificial animal. Not only that, in the following year you have to compensate by making another Umrah. If you said these words, oh Allah, I declare sick of no Ihram, wherever you strain me, you will be exempted from that. So whether you are healthy or not healthy, it's good to say these words. You start with Talbiyah and recite the following aloud, that is لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. Here I am, O Allah, here I am. Here I am, there is no partner with you, here I am. Verily all praise for you, and every bounty is from you, and all dominion is yours, you have no partner. So the way you say it, as the commas is there. لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك. This is the way it's supposed to be said, but you might hear it in a melody, which is not right. You might hear it as well, instead of saying إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك. Once you start making it like a song, people tend to say it 1, 2, 3 times and then they forget about it. That's it. But if you're doing it as a person who knows what he's saying, he will keep saying it as much as he can until he loses his voice. So don't get into that melody of those people, which is, I'm sure they've heard it. I don't know who started that melody. لبيك اللهم لبيك. And they like chanting against each other. Our talbiyah is not chanting, it's actually more than that. So I say لبيك اللهم لبيك, and I feel the words and the impact of them on their heart. On the heart. Right. Talbiyah is to be said as well with the following talbiyah if you want to add. لبيك إله الحق لبيك ذا المعارج لبيك ذا الفواضل لبيك وسعديك والخير بيديك والرغباء إليك والعمل لبيك مرغوبا ومرهوبا لبيك ذا النعماء والفضل والحق والفضل الحسن. All of those have been said by the companions in front of the Prophet of Allah, and they were agreed upon and they were approved. The first one, لبيك إله الحق لبيك إله الحق, the Prophet of Allah used to say it himself. So you just continue, لبيك إله الحق لبيك إله الحق, at your command, at your service, the Haqq Lord. Right, in the case of Umrah, Talbiyah should be continued until you see Mecca houses, i.e. that is the Haram boundaries. So as soon as you come into Tan'im, as soon as you see the Tan'im, you finish. Make Talbiyah as many as you can, raising your voice as much as you can, especially when you go up and down the hills. Making Talbiyah in a low voice is against the Sunnah, it's not from the Sunnah. The companions used to lose their voices at Rawha, and Rawha is only 36 miles from the miqat of Medina. As soon as they finished the Hulayfa from the miqat, say labbaik Allahumma labbaik, 36 miles, that's about maybe, I would say, not more than 4 hours travel. They lose what? Their voices. Also, Talbiyah is Sunnah, some scholars consider it to be wajib. Repeating the Talbiyah in groups is against the Sunnah. Again, it's not from the Sunnah. You have to do it your own. If you synchronize, basically not by organizing that, it just happens to be random. Not random, just sometimes you synchronize, there's no problem. But you say labbaik Allah in a group, it tends to be as well to finish about 3, 4, 5 times and then people get bored. So Talbiyah has to be from your heart and for yourself. The companions will recite it individually. Right. The Jibreel alayhi salam, he came to the Prophet ﷺ and he commanded him to raise their voices in the talbiyah. And he said the best of the talbiyah, the raising of the voice, and the one which has got sacrificial aims. Any person making talbiyah, everything will be making talbiyah with, on his left and on his right, from all the trees and all the stones until all the land make talbiyah from his left and his right. So making talbiyah, the land is making talbiyah with you as well. Now for the women, the same thing we say for the men, but we say that it's equally sunnah to have a shower from the ihram. A woman in her hayd, she takes a shower and assumes ihram but does not pray. No difference between the men and women in respect of raising the voice, except if she fears that she causes a fitna because her voice is not awrah, but if her voice, tends to be having softness in it, then maybe she should really make it only loud enough for her sisters. وفضل Aisha they make talbiyah too much that she complains, this is the voice of Aisha. They know. Prohibitions of ihram. Clothing. For men, you cannot wear any sewn clothes such as shirt, turban, hoodie cloth, trousers, underwear. Those which are sewn to the limb, socks, shoes, sewn materials in themselves are okay, but those garments that are made to fit the limbs are not allowed. What does that mean? See, if I have this thawb on, it's not allowed because it's sewn according to my hands and everything. But if I cut off the hands, and I cut off this and I make it like a towel, then it's no problem. Do you understand? It hasn't been sewn for myself. But because it's been sewn to fit my body, to fit the limb, that's why it's not allowed. But it doesn't mean sewn, it has got stitches. That's what the people think, or some of the people think. And if it's got stitches, your towel is all of it stitched up. In the towel you put, it's all of it stitched up. But it means it's not being sewn to the particular limb. You cannot cover your head with something that touches it. You could put an umbrella, you could put a, for example, a book, but you can't put it on top of your head. If you're carrying something, a bag or something, no problem, as long as you're carrying it for the sake of carrying, not for the sake of what? No shading, no problem, but the sake of for that, like a clothes. You understand me? If you want to shade yourself, you have to be putting it there, not touching your head. So you could hold your towel like this, no problem like this, to hold it, to cover your head. Cannot wear gloves, although there is no harm in wrapping the hands in clothes. So for example, you could put hands, say that it's cold, but not a particular glove which is sewn for the hand. For the women, can wear their normal clothes and no colors, because some people think it's white, like some of the Malaysian, all of them white, but without covering their faces with veils or their hands with gloves. The veil, which is something that they really wrap on their face and they tie it up from the back. They could put a piece of cloth and goes down on the face from the top like this, pinned, go down whenever there's men, but they can't put it like a niqab, the niqab is wrapped at the back. In the presence of men, they could cover their faces by dropping a cloth, but without tying it as in the veils. Also for prohibition are other fragrance. You should not perfume yourself, your clothing after entering ihram. There is no harm in what remains of the effective perfume that you have used prior to ihram, no problem. And this is only for the men, as I said. There is no harm to touch the Kaaba and black stone, even though they are being perfumed, it's a sentence. No harm to shake the hand of someone who's perfumed, no problem. Even no problem to wash your hands with perfumed soap, because perfumed soap is a soap, not a perfume. As for cleansing, you should not remove any hair from any part of your body after state of ihram. You should not clip your nails. And as for the intercourse, you're not allowed to do that with your wife, nor as well to make a marriage, the marriage contract. You should not wed or marriage proposal for yourself or for others as well. Hunting. You should not be hunting or assist someone to hunt. You should not kill animals except those that are harmful or that would attack people, such as lice, mice, snakes, and scorpions. And remember, hunting is prohibited within the sanctity of Mecca, regardless which time you come. But when you are in a state of ihram, you're not allowed to hunt wherever you are. So if you are in a state of ihram and you're coming, even if you are in Medina or even in Riyadh, but you are in a state of ihram, you're not allowed to hunt or assist and aid somebody to hunt. Fishing is allowed. Expiation for the violation of Ihram prohibition. The restriction of Ihram in terms of fidya are 4 categories. Now if you have violated something prohibited, that's what it is. Number 1, material relations, intercourse. Also marital relation, marital relation, intercourse. A camel fidya is required if the sexual intercourse took place before the first tahallul. What is first tahallul? This is what we're going to see inshallah when we come to the Hajj, which is actually, I'm going to tell you now, the first tahallul as soon as you throw the jamrah on the day of Eid, that's the first tahallul. If you've done it before the first tahallul, then camel fidya, not only that, Hajj is void and is not accepted, and you need to perform it the following year. A sheep fidya for sexual intercourse after the first tahallul and before the second one. What is the second one? That's when you finish your Hajj. Hajj is valid, but you've been sinned and you have to make what? Sheep fidya. No fidya for wedding. Those are the expiation for the violation of the Ihram. As for the hunting, same animal or its equivalent, regardless you were deliberate or not. So if you hunted a hyena, there's an equivalent of sheep, a ram, to be somebody going to hunt. Yes, well, maybe sometimes to talk about this is something to learn. If you hunt it, that's what it is. If something like, for example, you hunted like a rabbit, you might slaughter, for example, equivalents of that. It will be decided by the judge. Cutting the hair due to the illness or lice, fidya to be paid. So, that is a choice between fasting 3 days, feeding 16 people, or slaughtering a hadi. The sheep or cow and camel in the haram of Mecca. If there is no valid reason, then there is a sin and repentance is required in addition to the fidya. So, if the person cut his hair due to illness or lice, fidya is to be paid, no sin. And the fidya is a choice. That is, fast 3 days or feed 6 people. 6 people, that means poor people, or slaughtering a hadi. This hadi could be a sheep or a cow or a cow. And to be slaughtered in the Mecca, in the Haram of Mecca. Restrained due to injury, like for example, an injury came to you, broken leg, an enemy stopped you, you lost the way, then slaughtering a hadi, sheep, cow or camel, in the place where you've been restrained. Unless you said the condition along with the talbiyah. Remember that? Which is Allahumma mahilli haythu habat. See these words? No hadi to be, no sheep to be slaughtered. Permissible things in Ihram. That's important. There's no harm in using an umbrella. The roof of your car or tent is for a shade, no problem. Because you know that the people of Shia, they travel in buses which have no roof. They torture themselves, it's up to them. So we say this is not the sunnah. Sunnah is to cover yourself, not to shade yourself. There is also no harm in carrying your baggage on top of your head, not for shading, or carrying a backpack as well. There's no harm. Wearing sandals that do not cover the ankles, no harm. If you have only shoes that covers the ankles, then there is no need for you to cut them below your ankles. If cold, put normal clothes on top of your izar without sliding the shoulders. If you have a jacket and cold, put that jacket wrapped around you, not to put your hands through the sleeves. That's no problem. Wearing a ring or a watch is no problem. A watch, a ring is no problem. Wearing a hearing aid, a speech aid, no problem. Wearing eyeglasses, contact lenses, no problem. Cleanse yourself with cleaners, even if this is scented, like for example I said soap, perfume soap, no problem. Shower gels, no problem. Even if your hair is falling intentionally, no problem. Because some people would say to you, if you have 3 hairs falling from your head, then you have to slaughter a sheep. Those people, don't listen to them. Washing your ihram garment or put on new ones, no problem to wash your ihram or put new ones, no problem. Wearing a belt to keep your money and documents, no problem. Stitch belts is okay, no problem. So some of them will say to you, belt which is only made of metal. No. You have a stitched one. As I said, the stitch which is not allowed is the one sewn for your limb. Using a mask on the face if necessary. Not necessary, so dust or virus. Now the pitfalls of Ihram. What are the things that you're not supposed to do? Crossing the miqat without ihram. This will violate the wajib. Wajib means compulsory. Thinking that ihram is to put the two towels. No. Make an intentional hajj, or both is the essence of ihram. So it's not putting the two towels. You could put the two towels now if you want. How many days before hajj? A month. Maybe it doesn't. It's only saying the words. Right, thinking that it's sunnah to make 2 rak'ah before ihram. No, it's only for Dhul Hulayfa. If you are going from Dhul Hulayfa, you make the 2 rak'ah for ihram. So 2 rak'ah, not for ihram, for the blessed place. Thinking the ghusl or wudu is a condition for it. It is not. It is only sunnah. And covering the right shoulder straight away when you make the ihram, that's bid'ah. So some people start to expose their right shoulder from now. As soon as they put the ihram, it's only when you make the tawaf, first tawaf, which is 7 rounds, and the first tawaf, that's when you make your wida', which we're going to talk about inshallah. Also, thinking that anything that has stitched is forbidden, we said not right. Women in their menses, they cannot assume ihram, they could assume ihram and pass the miqat. No, they could do that. All of that is only the prayer and the tawaf. Women think that ihram requires particular clothes. No. Starting the Hajj or Umrah and quitting before completing, you're not allowed to do that. Now going to the Masjid al-Haram. This is Masjid al-Haram. This is Safa and this is Marwa. This is an old picture. Now the Haram is completely different. All these houses you can see here, they've been knocked down. All of those been knocked down. Okay, the only thing you could just see maybe the palaces, which is here. That's still there. This is still there, but here there is a big, massive, the clock here. So it is an old picture. Should we renew that one? So the Haram is about 4 times the size of this one. Massive, unbelievably. This is, I would say, this is enough for 200 years, inshallah. So it's a imagine all these buildings here, much more, and they demolished them and made the Haram wider. Okay, Safa and Marwa are still the same, but they have made more floors to it. They have made floor on the top, and they're even widening it, so it's even wider. Okay, that's here. Fahd Gate still there. Abdullah is still there, and Fatah Gate still there. And Umrah Gate still there, but they are outside. There's also other gates now for other buildings now around it. If anybody's got a new picture, please give it to me. A black stone corner, and this is the Yemeni corner. These are the corner of the Kaaba. We're going to see the Kaaba picture, which I lost the farm property. I think they've changed the place of it. It's not there anymore. That's how many miles or how many kilometers between the two Safa and Marwa. It's about quarter of a mile. So when you do 7 rounds, you're almost doing 2 miles. It's about 7.75. And the boundary around the Kaaba just showed me how as well to be rough. Now at the moment there's Tawaf around that ring. You made a ring as well. MashaAllah. It's amazing to see in the picture. The ring on top of the Kaaba. The Tawaf has been really so easy now. Right. This is the new extension. This is the supposed to be extension. Look at that, how much. This is the Haram now. Look at this. How big is this? Even they've done it. Look how. This is the sketch, but even it's bigger than that. That's the Kaaba. These are Braj Mecca. These are Braj al-Bayt before it's finished, by the way. It's finished. Braj al-Bayt is the highest one, which is the clock. Right. This is the door of the Kaaba. See, the door is higher than the people. It's not on the floor. You see people hanging there. That means the door is as much as your, when you stretch your arm, that's where the door starts. Quraysh made it like this to make the people whom they want them to get inside, and for those who are normal people, they cannot get inside. So they got their own special ladder for that. But the Prophet of Allah, he wanted to make the door level with the earth, but he couldn't do it because he was afraid that the people would make a coup. Would say that he changed the religion of Ibrahim, and that's the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is Maqam Ibrahim. This is where Ibrahim alayhi salam used to come and to see the equilibrium of the building when he used to build it, him and Ismail. And this is, they call it Hijr Ismail. It's not Hijr, it's called Al-Hijr. or Al-Hatim. Don't you ever think Ismail was there. Alayhi salam. This is a semicircle and it's part of the Kaaba. So you cannot make Tawaf by making a shortcut through this. You have to make around the whole issue. Why? Because this is part of the Kaaba. The reason it was built like this because Quraysh didn't have money, enough money. To build from here to the Kaaba was demolished by a flood. And that flood, when they wanted to get money, they couldn't get enough money. So they built 2/3 of it and they left a third here. And that is why this corner and that corner, they're not corners. The corner is supposed to be here. And that is why these two corners are not to be touched. There's no touching. But the Yemeni corner and the Blackstone corner, those are the ones to be touched. Yemeni corner and Blackstone corner. Those are to be touched. But those, they're calling it Shami corner and Iraqi corner, but not to be touched because they're not cornered. So, if, for example, Muslim countries thought they are secure enough and the Muslim would understand, they should really extend the Kaaba and make it on the foundation of Ibrahim and used to make it as big as this. But now, I don't think it is advisable for the, you know, the current sort of leaders to do that because, you know, the disease of coups going around, you know, this will trigger it. There is a flying text going around as well that the Saudi Arabia trying to dislocate or to change the location of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Look how many people have got it. SubhanAllah.
Circulate that every year.
You circulate that every year, the same thing, and people say, this is sending it to me. They say, brother, why did I send it? Why we are spreading the disease of those people who want, they are really after the Tawheed and monotheism. Wallah, they're not after the King Fahd or King Abdullah, they're after the Quran and Sunnah. They know which schools they're coming from, Ismailis, it could be from Shia, from Rafidah, even from those people from Ahl Sunnah, like the ones of the party of the Ikhwan Muslimun. What is that? How can we tolerate such a thing and start pressing send? Don't send, kill, delete. Until the brother send it to you, haram. How can they tamper with the grave of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Subhanallah. And at this time, even common sense is not there. Right, this is Zamzam water, Safa is there, and here is the sketch of the Kaaba. This is, those people were not being there, put your finger up, you were not being there. Were you there before? Were you there before? Were you there before? No. So what is this? You should have paid attention. What's this? Don't say it. Who wasn't there? Put your finger up, don't be. You were not there? Okay, you know you've been seeing them, seen this. I know you haven't been there. You haven't been there yet. Have you been there? Yeah, been there. Yes.
Is that where you said that Ibrahim was?
That's it. He didn't link that. Ibrahim. It's Maqam Ibrahim. This is Maqam Ibrahim. Correct. Okay, this is called a real name. My little boy there. What is it called? This with a question mark. What is it called? We're gonna say E now. Any boy? Little boys? No, you're not paying. Yalla billah, tell them. Al-Hatim, or they call it Hijr Ismail, but we said the correct name is Al-Hatim or the Hijr. Very good. Right, this is now should be known. Okay, brother? There, they haven't, yes. The one you put your hand there, you're looking at the back now. See? So what is this? Well, the front of it. The brother, hey, yeah. Is this Yemeni corner? You remind me of myself when I made a mistake as well. Blackstone. Okay. Blackstone, and this is Yemeni. Who can know this, please? Okay, put your finger up if you know. Yes. Is it Iraqi korma? Shami korma, which is the whole Sham. So the other one is going to be Iraqi korma. Right. This direction is to what? The other one. Where does it go? Where is it heading to? Safa al-Marwa says, nah. Zamzam. Right, this is Zamzam. And this is Safa. Right. That is the inside of the Kaaba. That's the inside of the Kaaba. That's the inside. The door is open. And this is the inside of the Kaaba. It's from inside. The Prophet ﷺ, when he came inside the Kaaba, there was 360 guards, idols, statues he had to break. Even there was a picture of Ibrahim alayhi salam drawn on the wall. Him and Ismail, Ibrahim and Ismail and Ishaq, 3 prophets, they are drawing lots. It's Taslimul Islam, which is haram, all of it lies. So the Prophet commanded for all of them to be rubbed off from the wall. Right, this is the flood that took place in the past. Can you see how much even people make a tawaf swimming? Can you see that? See the water as much as high as the door, and the door is higher than me. So you're talking about almost 2 meters. The water, there's no drainage system there. And this person is here, caught my attention, he's swimming. Tawaf al-Qudum, arrival, summary with, arrive at the Masjid al-Haram, go to the Black Stone, Tawaf, al-Diba' al-Ramal. What is that? We'll see that inshallah in a minute. Pray 2 rak'ah of Tawaf, and this is the summary. So let's just go through it one by one. Arrive at the Masjid al-Haram, take a bath. That's a different path from your ihram. It's a path for entering Mecca, if possible. When you enter the masjid, do not forget to enter by the right foot and say same thing that you say in entering any masjid. Bismillah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, Allahumma ftah li abwaab rahmatik, a'udhu billahi al-azim, al-qadim, wajh-al-kareem, min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. When you see the Kaaba, raise your hand if you want, as it is established from Abdullah ibn Abbas, and say the following. And as well dua, which is Allahumma anta as-salam wa minka as-salam fahayyina rabbana bis-salam, the dua of Umar radiyallahu anhu. Oh Allah, you are the peace, from you is the peace. Oh Allah, greet us with the peace. Try to enter the Kaaba from the gate of Bani Shayba, because we'll lead you to the Kaaba, to the Black Stone, but any gate is okay. Go straight to the Black Stone, say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, touch it with your hand, the right one. And kiss it if it's possible. Make sujood upon it if it's possible. As all of that done by the Prophet. If you are not able to kiss, then touch with your right hand and then kiss your hand. So touch and kiss your hand. If you cannot touch, you should make a sign towards, like this, from gesture like that, with your right hand, and say Bismillah Allah Akbar only once. Do not kiss. That means every time you say Bismillah, because people you see them say Bismillah Allah Akbar, Bismillah Allah Akbar, Bismillah Allah Akbar. It's only once. Bismillah Allah Akbar. You go. And do not kiss your hand. So you don't go like this and kiss your hand or throw a kiss over the Black Stone. You do that in every circuit. And you do not have to touch the Black Stone for your tawaf to be accepted. If it is crowded, you may face your hand towards the stone and say Bismillah Allah Akbar. Do not push the crowds to get to the Black Stone. And hurting a Muslim is a greater of a sin than kissing the Black Stone or putting your hand on it. For verily hurting the Muslim is haram, and kissing the stone is a sunnah, it's not a obligatory. When you are opposite the Black Stone, make a sign towards it with your right hand, saying Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and move on. As we said. Excellence of touching the Black Stone. Allah will set the Black Stone the day of resurrection, will have 2 eyes, and will have a tongue to speak with. It will testify for those who have touched it in the right manner. So they touched it in the right manner without shoving and pushing, it will testify for them. Also the Prophet said that touching the Black Stone and the pillar, the Yemeni pillar, it will remove the sins in such great multitude. Also the Prophet said that Hajar al-Aswad, Black Stone is from the Jannah, was more whiter than the snow. But what made it black? The sins of the polytheists, the idolaters. Black Stone is broken into pieces as a result of the damage inflicted through the ages, flood removal by the Qaramita, and it was returned in 1950 and 1951, and the remaining pieces were cemented together. Tawaf al-Qudum. Qudum means arrival. Tawaf around the Kaaba. Start from the Black Stone, Kaaba being on your left. Go around the Kaaba, pass the Black Stone 7 times. Kiss a prostrate or sign towards the Black Stone, and saying Bismillah Allah. Two sunnah applies to this tawaf. Number one, al-ramal. What is al-ramal? It's for men only. Strong and quick walk. We call it brisk or duck walk. The duck how he walks. With short and stiff boldness. Shoulders like thrust forward. Okay, thrust forward. And in the first 3 rounds only. And from Blackstone to Yemeni corner, then walk normal. So if you imagine now, that's the Kaaba, the table, and you imagine now the Blackstone in that corner, and the Yemeni corner in this side. That's the Iraqi and the Shami corner. So the brisk walk is from there to here, and then you walk normally this side. The idea behind this is that the Prophet ﷺ, when he wanted to make Umrah, instead of the Umrah of the Hulayfa, the people of Quraysh who were in control of Mecca, they're spreading rumors about the Muslims that are coming from Medina. The Medina is full of fever. They're going to come with tiredness. So the Prophet of Allah wanted to show them they're not tired and they're not vulnerable. And from the Treaty of Al-Hudaybiyah, the people of Quraysh will empty the Mecca for 3 days. They will stay on the mountains, when the mountains lie on this side. So they were on watch, what the Muslims going to do when they come to meet the Tawaf? So remember that they're spreading the rumor that the Muslims are weak. So those people who are from Quraysh, they're on watch, and they only can watch and see 3 sides of the cube, the Kaaba. But the other side can't see. The Prophet of Allah commanded the companions, that stiff, boldness walk, with each other, they were strong. From that side, because they could see them, that side they could see them, this side they could see them, but this side, walk normally, they can't see them. No more. Now this is only for 3 rounds. Now, there is no Quraysh these days who are kuffar watching us. We're still doing it. So because of them, we're still doing it today. So that if you have a wife with you, or a woman, women can't do that, it's only for men. Then you could still do it with her. I mean, she can't do it, but you could, because you're not running. Remember, you're just making sure that your shoulders are what? Moving, etc. So it's like a duck walk. So your feet are close to each other. Duck, I call it duck. Or brisk walk. 3 rounds. Al-Diba' also, it is only for that tawaf. No else. Just that tawaf. Called tawaf. Al-Diba', which is exposing your right shoulder. It's only for men. And wearing the ihram under your right armpit and over the left shoulder. Under your armpit, and it should be not over the left shoulder, it should be below, isn't it? Ah, yes, over the left shoulder, that's right. Yes, the right shoulder. Yes, over the left shoulder. Throughout the 7 rounds of Tawaf, and this is how it's done. Kaaba, Blackstone, and this is how Hijr, that's how you make the Tawaf. And that's where you go around. Okay. State of wudu is required for all kinds of tawaf. You have to select salah. Menstruating women does not make tawaf until she becomes clean. All kinds of tawaf, including optional tawaf, consist of 7 circuits. There is no such thing 1 or 2 rounds. 7 rounds. And 2 rak'ah behind the maqam, the station of Ibrahim. The Kaaba should be in the left. Do not do tawaf with your back on your right to the Kaaba. Do not walk backwards. Tawaf shall be performed within the boundaries of the Masjid al-Haram. Touch the Yemeni corner with your right hand each time you pass, and do not kiss it. But this is recommended. You don't have to do it. If you're not able to touch it, then you cannot make the same thing like the Blackstone by making a gesture. It's only you can touch, but you can't make a sign. It's only for the Blackstone. Do not face your hand to the Yemeni corner and say Allahu Akbar. This is only for the Blackstone. You do not touch the Shami or Iraqi corners because they're not corners. You can say the Prophet ﷺ dua between the Yemeni corner and the Blackstone, saying, that is, رَبَّنَا آتِنَا فِي الدُّنْيَا حَسَنَةً وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ حَسَنَةً وَقِنَا عَذَابَ النَّارِ. Oh Allah, give us the good in this life and the good in the hereafter, and save us from the punishment of the fire. Almost there. There is no particular dhikr for tawaf, so you may read Quran, you can say any dhikr you like. Do not follow those dua books, it's very important. That makes You know, these people who are in the first circle, what do you say? First, second circuit, what do you say? Third round, what do you say? All of that from the bid'ah. Anything, there's no specific dua. Just to bring smiles on your faces. You know, these people, some of them, they don't understand what is in the book. They could read the Arabic, but they can't understand what it is. So those booklets, where they're written, which are, as I said, bid'ah, some of the dua are long, so they need 2 pages. So these people repeat behind the one who's reading, and the one who reads doesn't understand, nor the ones who are repeating, they don't understand. Especially from the, you know, like Iranians, or for example from the Pakistani who doesn't understand the Arabic. So they're reading the dua, and he's reading everything in that page. Because the dua is not finished, it's finished on the following page, there's at the end, turn over, turn the page over. اقلب الصفحة على. So he says, Allahumma, Allahumma, oh Allah, oh Allah. For example, may you forgive me, forgive me. اقلب الصفحة, turn the page over, the page over. They repeat everything because they don't know. And this is true, by the way. And they even hire a person from Mecca. Those are people called mutawifun. And they make them their own mind. But these people, they don't have a book, they have it on their mind. And it is just basically dua empty of any sincerity. And it's also bid'ah. Make dua by yourself, do not in shouting groups. I call it shouting groups. And you know, when you pass by these shouting groups, you can't even concentrate yourself. You have to shout with them. Allah al-Musta'an. Do not whack the walls. Some people whack and wax all the way. Even they bring their shrouds and they think that they put shrouds in Zamzam or wipe it in the Kaaba, they get holiness, they got it charged up for their, you know, shrouding there for death. It's all of it from this bid'ah as well. Continue tawaf without interruption unless it is necessary. Otherwise, it will be void. So, when it's time for the obligatory prayer, you could stop, join the prayer, and then go back to your place where you made the tawaf and resume. You don't have to start from the beginning. Same thing when you go to the toilet. Same thing. You make wudu, come back, and resume from where you have left it. Now, in case of doubt about the number of circuits, you don't know, you go to the one which is your less number, which is your sure of. So you are sure of 6, but you don't know if you've done the 7th or not. So you go to the 6. You don't say 7. You are sure of 2, but you don't know have you done the 3rd one or not. So you just go to the 2. You don't say you've done 3. If you get doubts after you finish your tawaf, forget about it. Ignore it. Al-Multazam. That's the place where it's between the black stone and the door, where the person, is recommended for him to place his chest, his face, and forearms at that and make dua. Fortunately, people, they don't know, so they hook themselves to the door. There's no, you know, specialty about this. The place is there. That's the multazam, but they go somewhere else. They see people hooking themselves to the door, they hook themselves to the door. See, the people, as I said, all people follow people. There's no such hadith. Right. The maqam, when you finish the 7th round, cover your right shoulder straight away. So you cover it only when you make the tawaf, and cover it straight away because you can't pray with your shoulders uncovered. And go behind maqam Ibrahim, towards maqam Ibrahim, you say, وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ Ibrahim. So while you're headed towards maqam Ibrahim, you say, وَاتَّخِذُوا مِن مَقَامِ إِبْرَاهِيمَ مُصَلَّى, and appoint for yourself a place for prayer and the standing place of Ibrahim. Right. Place the maqam Ibrahim between yourself and the Kaaba, and then pray 2 rak'ah and recite therein Surah Al-Kafirun and Surah Al-Ikhlas. So, Fatiha and Qul Ya Al-Kafirun, Fatiha and Qul Huwallahu Ahad in the 2 rak'ahs. It is not possible, if it's not possible to pray behind Maqam Ibrahim, you can pray anywhere. So how many people there? So many. Maqam Ibrahim traces the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam as seen in certain structure. Right. Zamzam. After praying, you go to Zamzam and drink from it and pour some of the water on your head. There's no reward or extra reward for making wudu through Zamzam. You may say dua of Ibn Abbas, which we're going to see in a minute. Then you return to the black stone and say that this thing is being skipped, which is people, as soon as they finish Zamzam, they go to Safa. They don't return back to the black stone and say Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, as we have said before, if it's possible. Zamzam water is available in coolers. During the Hajj season, coolers are removed. Anyway, this is the Abdullah ibn Abbas dua, which says, Allahumma inni as'aluka ilman nafi'a wa rizqan wasi'a wa shifa'an min kulli da'. Meaning, oh Allah, I ask of you a beneficial knowledge, abundant provision, and a cure from all disease. That's the dua. And remember that Zamzam water is the best water in the face of the earth. Sa'i between Safa and Marwa, which we call it Tawaf again. Summary: start from the Safa, recite the ayah, which we're going to see it, make dhikr and dua, walk to the Marwa as first lap. On the Marwa, do the same thing on the Safa, and back to the Safa, second lap, and then complete 7, finishing on the Marwa, and following your steps. And he's going same place where you're going, finish at the Marwa. Okay, in details. When you reach the foot of the Safa, recite the following: Inna Safa wal Marwa min sha'airillah, ومن حج البيت واعتمر فلا جناح عليه أن يطوف بهما ومن تطوع خيرا فإن الله شاكر عليم. Meaning, surely the Safa and the Marwa are among the symbols of Allah. So whoever makes a pilgrimage to the house or pays a visit to it, there is no sin if he goes around them both. And whoever does good of his own accord, then surely Allah is grateful. No. Right, this is the Safa. You say after that verse, نَبْدَأُ بِمَا بَدَأَ اللَّهُ بِهِ. We start with what Allah began with. Now this is the story of our mother Hajj, mother of Ismail. She had to go 7 rounds in order that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had sent a Jibreel, in which he had, with his wing, dug the earth and Zamzam came out. But she was looking for water for her child who was crying because there was no water, no food. Then climb Safa until you see the Kaaba. Sometimes you can't see. Could be easy, could be not easy. So it's sufficient just to face. You don't have to see the Kaaba. On now the Safa, what do you say? Face, as I said, on top of the Safa, you face the Kaaba and say, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah. له الملك وله الحمد يحيي ويميت وهو على كل شيء قدير لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وهزم الأحزاب وحده. And the translation of which, Allah is great, Allah is great, Allah is great. None has the right to be worshipped but Allah alone without partners. To Him belongs all sovereignty and praise, and He's all over all things omnipotent. None has the right to be worshipped except Allah alone. He fulfilled His promise, gave victory to His servant, and single-handedly defeated the allies. So this is the supplication that you say with that, raising up the hands. And all of that you say 3 times, making dua with raising up the hands in between. So after you finish this once, you raise up your hands and you make your own dua, whatever you want. Then after that you put your hands down, say that twice, second time. Then you raise up your hand to raise up to do the normal dua. Then you put your hands down and then you say that the 3rd time. 3 times in between to dua. Now, then you descend from the Safa and start walking in the direction of the Marwa. You walk till you reach the green signpost, indicating the bottom of the valley, but there is no bottom of the valley anymore, everything's level. This is when our mother Hajj, she used to go tuck up her clothes and she would accelerate and then to go up and ascend to the other mountain, which is the Marwa. Right. So she used to go very fast. So it's supposed to be women, men, but the women, because they are at the moment with the men who expose themselves, there is no running for them except for the men. So do up. So you say you run until the following green post, and do upon the Marwa when you reach the Marwa what you did upon the Safa. Right. Then you return, till you ascend the Safa again, running between the 2 green posts, and that is a second lap. Then you return to the Marwa, and only you do complete 7 laps, finishing upon the Marwa. You do the same thing on Marwa, what you did on the Safa from the dua. Your own dua, you could change it, but Allahu Akbar, the dhikr, you do the same thing. Follow your steps, that means if you go beside the wall, you follow that beside the wall. Don't go in the middle and you follow your steps all the time. This is the sunnah. You may recite the following dua inside, which is رَبِّ اغْفِرْ وَارْحَمْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْأَعَزُّ الْأَكْرَمُ. Repeat that as much as you can. رَبِّ اغْفِرْ وَارْحَمْ إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ الْأَعَزُّ الْأَكْرَمُ. O Lord, forgive and have mercy on me. Surely you are the most noble, the most generous. This is exit from the Marwa. Finally, al-halq wa al-taqsir, shorten, shave the hair of your head, thus ending the Umrah. Shaving is better for men. Shaving better only when there is enough time for the hair to grow for your Hajj. The bald does not do anything. Not even some people will take the razor and put it in your head. No, don't do anything. Hair has to be trimmed from all over the head, not from one side and from another side. The sunnah is to start from the right side of the head. This is how we do it. The woman gathers her hair, then shorten it from the end and the length of a finger joint like that. No harm of someone, male or a female, who is still in a state of ihram to shave others. Because we said instead of hunting, you can't hunt nor you could help. But instead of shaving, no problem to shave to somebody else, even if you yourself, you haven't finished your state of ihram. Everything that becomes forbidden to you upon entering the ihram now becomes permissible again. What are the pitfalls of the same? Raising the hands upon the Safa and the Marwa as in the Salah. People do like this. You've seen them maybe. It's like saying Salam to Safa and Marwa. Sunnah to the hand like this. Another one, jogging all the way between Safa and Marwa. It's only between the green posts, green signposts. Reciting the ayah every time they reach the Safa, they go in the Safa wal Marwa. That's not right. It's only once you do it, once you reach it. And some pilgrims think that the lap is going and coming, so they make 14 instead of 7. Reciting a particular dua for every lap is exactly bid'ah, as we have said, for the tawaf around the Kaaba. Staying in Mecca, inshallah, we'll stay in Mecca on Wednesday when we come for the second session. Alhamdulillah, we finished. This is slide, by the way, 100. How many slides we have done? 100. So I show you now the end of it. What is that? 181. So we've got 81 left. 81 slides left. So we'll leave that inshallah for Maghrib for the second session. If you have any questions up to now, please go ahead. And you've got only 5 minutes. So,
The question is, can we put, or can we go inside the ground before the start, like in London or?
you could put your clothes of ihram now.
No, I mean, can I go inside the ground, like, or it have to be?
No, you cannot make the words for the ihram, the words, which is labbaik Allahumma bi umrah, unless you are close to the miqat. Depending if it's you are going by walk or by car or by train, you have to be inside that miqat or in parallel, exactly. But if it's in plane, an estimation. So for example, if you're going by Saudi Arabian line, they will tell you exactly. 2 minutes to ihram. They will tell you 2 minutes. So you could make it ihram. So they'll make it because of the plane running fast. You know, it's different from the car. The car you could stop. The plane can't stop. So
You mentioned where the socks in Ihram. For the women, is there a right for them to wear socks when they come out?
socks for the women, it's like a must, because whether it's in ihram or not, because they have to cover their feet. Okay? Unless they've got a big garment, a long garment.
Is that for maybe like a glove? That's forbidden as well?
No. For the women, the gloves and the mask, which is the veil, it's not because they are stitched clothes. Remember that. It's because there's no gloves, no gloves. It's not because stitched, because all the women's clothes are stitched anyway. But the men have to be a towel. And for herself, it's clothes, all of it stitched. So the veil being taken away and the gloves being taken away is not because they're stitched from something else. As for the sock, they have to cover their feet. Okay. So you're thinking about a stitch? No, the woman could be having any stitch, no problem. Now,
Can you wear knee protectors?
knee protectors. If you have anything that you will need to do it, regardless what it is, you no problem to do it. All right. So, for example, let's say that this person have something irritation somewhere that he had to put stitched padding himself. we treat him from Ahl al-A'dha, people with excuses, no problem. Like for example, a person who can't have urine control. What do you call it? Incontinence?
Incontinence.
Incontinence. Incontinence. So you could put, there's big nappies, for those people. Yes? Big nappies, you could buy them, special ones. That nappy is stitched because it's, it's like underwear. It's no problem. No. Like the children as well. Follow.
What if someone goes from Hajj before that, from Umrah, like say 10 days before Hajj, and they shave their hair, and they know their hair is not going to grow back, so what do they do?
If the person made Umrah 10 days before Hajj, that means he had made the Umrah of the Hajj. He doesn't have to make another Umrah. So we said, any Umrah done in the Shawwal, which is 2 months before, or the Qa'dah, which is a month before, is considered part of his what? Hajj Tamattu. Alright?
Or that, shaving your head at the end of Hajj, the hair is not...
We said if you're going to make Hajj, then it is good or better not to shave your head completely down, to leave some hair, unless mashallah, your hair grows up very quickly. So you can shave it in the Umrah and shave it in the Hajj. But most likely, if your Umrah is close from the Hajj days, it's not going to grow. So it's better to leave a bit. So we've got grade 1. Grade 1, isn't it? Yeah, grade 1 and then grade 0 for Hajj. Now,
I have a couple of questions.
No.
With the talbiyah you hear people saying that you make talbiyah until you see the Kaaba. Is that incorrect?
Okay.
Until you see the actual Kaaba.
Yeah. People say that talbiyah should be said until you see the actual Kaaba. First of all, that saying is wrong. But we say, if you remember what we said before, the talbiyah is to be said until you see the houses of Mecca. Mecca starts from the Tan'im, or the Ja'rana, or the Nakhla, or Dah Libn. Those are the places where, or Arafah, indicating the Mecca city. But what is the idea behind it? Why should we stop? Or why we are better to stop? Because you're going to be preoccupied by other things. You're going to be in the hotel and everything. But everything has been done for you. So if you understand what is the theme behind it, no problem to make talbiyah until you reach your hotel, which is inside your city or next to the haram. There's no problem. But the talbiyah to stop is to preoccupy you for other things, to make you having more time to think and But if the company done everything for you, make talbiyah all the way to the hotel. But don't you think that there is talbiyah to the Kaaba itself? Now, remember, you can't do the Kaaba because you're going to enter by saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa aftah li abwaab rahmatik, a'udhu billahi al-azim, sultan al-qadim, wa al-kareem, rajim, and say all his dua. So it can't be the talbiyah. You are now in the moment busy yourself from other things. Now, other question?
Entering the gate of Bani Shayba that's just for convenience.
Convenience, because you don't have to go back, or you don't have to go. Because if you enter from, for example, the gate of Al-Fath, or the gate of Al-Fath, you're going to go half a circle with nothing. It's not good to reverse back. You're going to go half a circle with nothing. That's why I'm just. But you don't have. If you want to go half a circle for nothing, no problem. Add now. Remember, your counting will start from the black stone. Now, by the way, the black stone, when you face it, if you're far away, you face the corner. You don't have to be precise. Before they used to put a line. Alhamdulillah, the line they have removed it. That line caused a lot of congestion. And the congestion is from the ignorance of the people. Before there was a line, these people to look at the line, and while they look at the line, they trip over, they go on top of, so people go on top of each other. But now, once you face the direction of that corner, you say Bismillah Allah Akbar. And also the ignorance of the people, they stick to that line and say Bismillah Allah Akbar, Bismillah Allah Akbar, Bismillah Allah Akbar. Brother, move! With other people, they think as well, when they pray towards that direction, especially on that line, which was, they keep praying to, so the people making salah on it, blocking the flow of the rotation. That's why there's congestion. If everybody understood, there would be no congestion. There's people going around. People going around. But you're going to get people ignorant. You're going to get people who are out of order. You're going to get people who are going to provoke you. You have to be patient. Now,
For women, is it better to pray Salah in hotel or to go pray around the masjid? Like, for women, better Salah in home.
mashallah. Is it better for the women to pray in the haram, or is it better for them to pray in the house? Look at this answer and be careful when you have to. First of all, we don't prevent the women from coming to the masjid. But we say to them, their houses is better for them, except in particular prayers. Not all the prayers. So the prayers, like for example, prayer of the Jama'ah, prayer of the Salah, all of those prayers for the women to pray where? Inside even her bedroom, her room. But because they're going to Mecca, we don't really prevent them, because we want them to come. But her house, her hotel is better than Kaaba. But prayer of Taraweeh is for the women to pray where? In the masjid, even though it's not compulsory. Because the Taraweeh, she can't do it at home. The Jama'ah, she could do it at home. Pray on their own, no problem. But the Taraweeh, she can't pray it. It's in the masjid. So the masajid, Taraweeh, the women is there. Also, if there's a class, a learning circle, she comes to the masjid. But we want the women all the time to keep to their houses. That's the best place for them. It's their house. And we're not backward people by saying this. We are more civilized when we put the person where he's supposed to be there. What is the point of the woman she's having now? Not just to look after her husband, or feed her husband, or even feed her children, or even take the children to the school. They have to do the shopping, and they have to work in. Is that fair? And this is liberation, freedom? Wallahi, this is not freedom. This is more civilization. The woman, she thinks, yeah, I've got my freedom. Oh, no, think about it, sister. Who is better? The one that she's in her house, she's got the food to do, and look after the children, or the woman, she has to go and clothe the children. On top of that, she take them to the school, pretend in the school, and do the shopping. And then after that, she has to work. And after work, she has to be back to cook for the husband. That's, I don't know. Can she take that? So I would say the women are supposed to be in the place. She's not supposed to be going or leaving except for something which is important. Even visiting the grave, which is the grave is for both men and women. We're being encouraged by Allah's Messenger to come to the graveyard in order to remind ourselves of what? Death, the hereafter. But Prophet Allah said, لَعَنَ اللَّهُ زَوَّارَاتِكُمْ. May Allah curse the women who frequently visit the graveyard. So the wife here, she's going out. Oh, where are you going, dear wife? To the graveyard. Following day, where are you going? Graveyard. It's not right. Even the graveyard to remind of it after, but it's no good. So that the women to stick to their house, those are the women who are the righteous women. But for the women who like to go all the time, they are everywhere except in the house, that's not a good woman. So sister, the house is for you, that's where you should be. And Prophet of Allah, he called them qawarid. Rifqan bil qawarid. Andrusha was, having the wife of the Prophet ﷺ on top of the camel. And Andrusha was singing as in, poetry. And the way he sings in the melody, the camels like it. And when they like it, the camels as well, they go into the tune. And they start, with the shock absorbers go like faster. So the hawdaj, which I can't translate in English, even in English it's called hawdaj, which is like a little cottage on top of the camel. It keeps going like this and going like that, imagine. So the Prophet said, Andisha, take it easy. Rifqan bil qawarir. Qawarir can be translated into two ways. Vessels, qawarir, because they are vessels can easily be broken. Or the other translation, which is qawarir, that means the ones who are qarrat fil buyut, they are staying in their houses. They don't go. They don't leave, all in the house. Which both are to be correct. Vessels, they're easy to break. So, come on, Andisha, take it easy. The camel is going too fast. So when you drive as well, your wife, you should not be driving as you drive with, for example, your friend, that's not right. Rally drivers, and that's why you find rally drivers are well, men and women. Can you tell me there's a woman for the F1 race? I haven't seen it. Why? Because they're not meant for that. It can't be equal, physical. It's only for the men. Rough and tough. The women are supposed to be soft. So women who are boxers, they're not really right. And we're having boxer size for sisters, it's not right, so brothers. Wallah. In the masajid, I've seen the boxer size for women. I'm going to teach them what to be boxing, tough and rough, and aim for the head of their husband. It's not right. Boxing is not for women. Wrestling is not for women. It's only for men. Tough and rough is for men. Women is very soft and looked after. Now. تفضل يا عفو.
The dua for the safar, when should it be made? You leave your house or you see the car?
As soon as you are going to the journey, regardless where you're coming from, your house, your shop, as soon as you're intending, this is why I'm going to go be a journey, you do that dua. Alright? Now.
Question about Zamzam. When you get there, you can drink standing. Is that correct?
Drinking standing from Zamzam is not right. Prophet of Allah drank standing up because of different reasons. But to think that there is a respect for Zamzam is a good question. And every time you drink Zamzam, you have to stand up. That's against the Sunnah. Prophet of Allah, he commanded us when we drink any type of water to sit down. We drank Zamzam sitting up, because standing up, because he wanted to show the people. Number two, lots of people standing. So, don't you ever think Zamzam is different from the waters in terms of drinking? No, you drink it while you're sitting down. Because the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لو يعلم أحدكم ما في بطن. That is, if you know, anybody knows what happens in your stomach when you drink standing up, he would have vomited. لاستقام. So, medically speaking, I don't know if the doctor here, it's been proved as well. If you drink standing up, it affects something there in muscles or whatever. But we believe in it anyway without these people to prove it to us. Drinking standing up is no good. You must sit down. You drink it with your right hand side. As for the food, the same thing, but if you are walking, there's companions where you used to walk while they are eating, no problem. But if you are sitting, if you are not walking, you must sit when you eat. Now, I think we passed the 5 minutes mark. Well,
That's the last question.
not last question for you, last question for him.
Is there any special dua when you see the Kaaba for the first time?
I said, when you see the Kaaba, if you remember, first of all, Ibn Abbas, he raised up his hands. So we raised up his hands. Secondly, the dua of Umar. اللهم أنت السلام ومنك السلام فحينا ربنا بالسلام. That's it. This is the first time we see the Kaaba. First time on the scene. والله تعالى أعلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك.